Hey guys, Dog Skeleton here, and today I wanted to rave a little bit about the new Pokemon that are coming out in Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby. Specifically, Mega Lopunny and Mega Beedrill. Now, Lopunny and Beedrill are two of my favorite Pokemon from the past generations that have never really seen any kind of competitive play, mostly because their base stats are just so low. But I do love them as a Pokemon, I love their design, and in a lot of ways I do like their move pools a lot. For instance, Lopunny was a Pokemon that had a pretty low base attack stat considering she's a fighting type, but she did have Fire Punch, Ice Punch, and Thunder Punch, allowing her to have some pretty cool coverage, and I just like the punch moves in general. But in addition to that, you could also try some crazy support builds using Switcheroo, allowing you to swap items with your opponent's items. And that allowed you to just cause mayhem in battles, and it was a lot of fun to do, even if it's maybe not necessarily the most competitively viable thing to do. But now she's going to come out with Mega Lopunny. And Mega Lopunny is going to have a huge attack boost, as well as a big speed boost, which I think is going to make her actually pretty competitive as a fighting type Pokemon, actually being able to go and punch people, sweep teams, that kind of thing. And although I like to play her more on the support side of things, it's nice to see that, they're taking some of the old Pokemon that are considered pretty bad, even though some people might like them, and making them more viable again. I was really skeptical about the whole Mega Evolution as soon as X and Y were coming out, just because it was like, oh, well, everyone's just going to run Mega Evolutions, but it's not actually that bad since you can only have one in the party. But in addition to that, she's going to get Scrappy ability, so although she's a normal fighting type, which is like the worst combination against something like Ghost, because normal moves can't hit Ghost, fighting type moves can't hit Ghost, they're giving her the ability Scrappy, which will be pretty good for her, because then she'll be able to hit things like Gengar with her fighting type moves. And that's also, doubly good, because a lot of Ghost Pokemon that people like to run, such as Gengar, have a really low physical defense. Now, will she be able to kill it before the Gengar just puts her to sleep or just Shadow Balls her in one-shots? We'll have to see. But it's quite possible that, she could be a decent fighter against Ghost Pokemon. And then we also have Beedrill coming up with the Mega Beedrill form. Beedrill, of course, is one of the weakest Pokemon in terms of fully evolved forms throughout this series of games. Has been pretty weak even since the original Red and Blue version, and it's because bug Pokemon tend to evolve so fast, so ones like Butterfree and Beedrill, which you can get by level 10, even potentially before you would be fighting Brock in the original game, they just have such low base stats, and I mean, it was for the sake of game balance, I'm sure, while you're progressing through the game, but when it comes to competitive, they just don't really have a spot in anything, even kind of being weak and never used tiers. Beedrill does have a couple fun abilities, like you can throw out an Endeavor to bring an enemy Pokemon down to 1 HP, combined with a Focus Sash, and then it's like, ooh, you 1 for 1, so it's an equal trade, Beedrill viable. Not quite exactly, but I have always liked that it was an offensive bug Pokemon, sort of flying, although not technically a flying type, but it's got poison moves and it's got bug type moves, which are kind of cool. I really like the concept of Twin Needle, even though it's not a Pokemon you would use, not a move you would use competitively. But now they're going to give him a huge attack boost and speed boost when you go into Mega form, which is definitely going to push Beedrill towards being a potentially viable sweeper type Pokemon. And I really think that's what they're trying to go for there, because they're giving him adaptability, which is, in my opinion, one of the sickest special abilities you can get as a Pokemon. It makes your moves do 200% damage if they are stab type. So if you use a bug or a poison type as a Beedrill, when you have adaptability, then that's going to do 200% damage instead of the normal 150% that a move does when you have magic types. And that's crazy. That just means you're going to expect that the Beedrill is going to throw out a bug or poison type move, which means you have the potential to counter it still, but it's going to do a massive amount of damage if it hits and connects with something that's weak to it. So I think Beedrill is the kind of Pokemon that's going to come out later on in the battles, possibly as a mid to late game sweeper type, and it has a new move that's called Fell Stinger. This move allows you to gain 2 attack stages whenever you make a KO, but it only has 30 base power, which really means it's going to be doing 60 base power since it's a bug type move. And I think that if you bring a Beedrill in against something that's weak enough to get KO'd by that Fell Stinger, you're going to get your Sword Stance for free and really going to sweep the enemy team if they don't have anything to counter you like a choice scarfed Pokemon. And that's going to be a lot of fun for me, because Beedrill is just one of my favorites. It's going to be like, haha, now that you have weakened all your Pokemon, I'm going to bring in a Beedrill. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead. Nice. So, with the new generation, it is impressive kind of what they're doing to the game. Not just in the terms of all the graphics they're adding in, the ability for you to fly around the world instead of just having that cheap little animation, but also how they're kind of rebalancing the game by adding in all these Mega Evolutions. It's something I was skeptical at first about, but I really like how they're bringing some of my favorites that were considered weak Pokemon to the point where I can use them and possibly bring them into my competitive teams as I go forward with Alpha Ruby and Omega Sapphire. So of course in these games they're also adding in crazy Mega Evolutions for Pokemon that were already insanely powerful like Rayquaza. Do you guys think that they're going to completely overshadow these other Mega Evolutions? Of course in competitive they're going to be tiered in terms of Ubers, Never Use Tier, those kinds of things. But are people actually going to play Lopunny and Mega Beedrill, or are these going to be Pokemon that are completely overshadowed? Let me know what you think down in the comments down below, and if you want to see more Pokemon related content, I'll be releasing more, so go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and thank you all very much for watching.